organizations, thousands of individuals. It's a very straightforward letter. Anyone can go to toxicstargeting.com, click on Marcellus Shale, and you can just sign this letter. It's very clear. It basically says that the draft SGEIS is ancient. It lacks current information. It simply has to be withdrawn. It's simply not suitable to base arguably the most important public policy decision on the environment in a generation. And we want, in particular, the Department of Health review to be immediately halted, and instead a comprehensive shale fracking public health impact study should be conducted. Until that is accomplished, the moratorium on shale fracking should be continued.
Now, this seems to be a topic that the governor is dragging his feet on. Could you talk a bit about why this is taking so long for him to make a decision on this?
I don't believe that the governor is dragging his feet in any way, shape, or form. I think he wants to permit shale fracking in New York State. The problem is that this SGEIS is so shockingly inadequate. It's received withering criticism even from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And so he hasn't been able to approve shale fracking because he hasn't been able to complete the Department of Health review, conducted totally in secret, and he hasn't been able to adopt comprehensive public health and environmental safeguards pursuant to a final SGEIS. We've prevented him from doing that, and now we're going to do our best to make sure that this entire proceeding is started all over again, because it's simply 5 years old. It's amazingly incomplete. It ignores literally hundreds of recent studies and government investigations. The governor's just got to kill this proceeding and start over again, or citizens are going to remember in November.
Do you know how many signatures you have online for this letter right now?
In basically one evening and a morning, I think we have almost 700. So we're going to be collecting thousands of signatures in the months to come, and people are going to be confronting the governor at every opportunity to ask him to kill this SGEIS, kill the Department of Health review, and don't permit shale fracking in New York until comprehensive safeguards are adopted.
What do you think that says about the hundreds of people in New York who are in favor of this letter saying this SGEIS is innovative?
Oh, I think that this is the rebirth of the American environmental movement. There isn't any other state, country that has done what we've done, which is to get educated, get organized, and get politically effective. I mean, that's how come we haven't had one Marcellus shale gas well, production well, fracked anywhere in our state. And during the time that we've held off shale fracking because there aren't adequate standards, essentially gas production is plummeted. It's down to a 25-year low. Oil production is at a century low. Basically, this industry, which has been polluting New York for nearly 2 centuries, is on the verge of collapse. And that's because citizens have worked so hard to protect their communities from shale fracking hazards. So we're a very formidable force, and we're going to be bringing unprecedented pressure to bear on the governor to kill this SGEIS, kill the Department of Health review.
How will you be delivering this letter to the governor?
We have sent numerous letters to the governor over the course of time, and so basically we will forward this to him online. As more and more people sign the letter, we'll update the governor, and frankly the news coverage that this coalition letter receives will make the governor very, very aware of this critical issue, and he'll have to speak to this issue as he runs for re-election. People are going to be bird-dogging the governor in every venue where he shows his face. They're going to be waving signs. They're going to be asking tough questions. But the southern tier, Binghamton, New York, is the epicenter of this fight, and that's why we're here today.
What happens if he doesn't heed the warning from this letter that you're providing him?
If he does not grant our respectful request to withdraw this draft SGEIS, people are going to remember in November. They're not going to be as inclined to vote for him. The key thing is we are asking very respectfully for a very sound scientific reason to kill this SGEIS. And if he doesn't give us a favorable reply, he's going to be held accountable. He's not going to get votes.
If this draft SGEIS is removed, how long would it take to get a new one in place? How long would that study take?
We don't know. The key thing is that there has to be, as a good first step, a comprehensive public health impact study. There has never been a study. And so once that study is done, then the proceeding has to begin to allow the safeguards to be adopted openly and transparently, and it's going to take as long as it's going to take to make sure that New York does not suffer additional irreparable pollution harm.
who's been
He
doing
was
the
brought in
research now?
2010
You know, basically there are an enormous number of people who are reading the SGEIS, who are reading the Department of Health review. People are publishing papers. Like this morning I got an email from Dr. Robert Howard at Cornell saying he had just recently published a new study and that this should be brought to the attention of the governor. So we're not lacking for information. The problem is that this SGEIS proceeding has dragged on for so long. It's just a historic document. It's not current. It lacks literally hundreds of new studies. That's why it's got to be stopped.
What's some of the specific information that
The interesting thing is, though, to go
The
back to
most
all your
important
new
thing that
stuff,
has to be
Senator
addressed
Libous
is that,
wants to talk about
contrary to what the
no
Department of
rises.
Environmental
He
Conservation
told
originally asserted,
his
people
March-
are exposed
March
to
31st
pollution.
press conference.
And so we
He said
need to
he
know
was,
what is the full spectrum of pollutants that they're exposed to, how long are they exposed, what do they breathe, what do they drink, what do they get on their skin, and what are the long-term health consequences. Those critical questions have never been answered.
It can't be true.
I got another ring.
Because
Right. Oh, don't go too far. You got a microphone.
for that very
Oh.
conduct
Oh, you got a microphone.
years ago
You're tethered.
that press conference. He was investigating. He said he was blown away.